All right, everybody, welcome back. So on this episode, I'm going to show you some of my microfiber collection, update you all where we are with kind of any development for the version 3s, if there is a version 3s for a certain towel, and just kind of go through a consequential order of, we go from the wheels all the way to the finishing steps, what's the towel of choice, and why is it a towel of choice? Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the tools today. This is just going to be on items that specifically touch painted surfaces. That way it'll be a lot easier to kind of get through the consecutive order of a lot of towels. So of course, with wheels, I literally, for the faces, sometimes the barrels, the backs of the spokes, I exclusively use our lamb's wool mitt. Now these, to me, are invaluable. I think lamb's wool mitt should only be on one car care item, and that should be the wheel mitt, in my opinion. If you upscale that to a kind of a traditional wash mitt, wash pad, you know how much of a big disapprover I am of that kind of method. I just always feel that it never moves the shampoo the correct way across the paint. That's just, again, my opinion. But the way this moves, wheel cleaners, wheel foams, stuff like that, that there's just a nice level of slickness. It's just small enough to where you could use one finger, 3, 4, depending on how you want to use it or how big your hands are. So I tend to go through these every, I would say, 6 to 9 months. You don't need to, of course. Our initial trial one was 18-month old and it still looked as good as new. Now, what I like to do is I like to have like one bad winter season through. So I'll see winter out, the tail end of winter and the beginning of spring. I just literally, I demote my current one, let's say, towards, say, another task, and I just pick out a fresh one. They're relatively inexpensive to keep changing every 6 to 8 months, and that way I just know that I'm not dragging too much contaminant, say if you do 2 winters and stuff like that. So I always have one in circulation. I've got obviously 4 there as a backup at all times, and that way I go into the cupboard, I get a new one out, and it's done. Now moving on to the wash stages, again, as you know, this is my ultimate prized possession. These are our V2 wash pads. Nice, lovely tri-blend, can't be beaten. Took us a long time with the whole range, if I'm honest, but with the wash pad specifically, took us a long time to kind of stabilize the blend. Not too heavy, not too light, not too absorbent, but not absorbent enough. You know, we kept trialing all the different blends that you could ever have and how do they play with each other. Believe it or not, there is a chemistry between fibers. It's not just the liquid products that have a chemistry behind them. Now, I've got, as you can see, these are the 2 that I use. These are operational. So I've got 2 small, I've got 2 large. Again, I never use 4 wash pads at the same time. That video is coming. Multiple wash pads of the 2 bucket method. Now that'll be an interesting one. Now, primarily I use the large one because my biomechanics make the large one fairly easy to control. As you could see, my hands actually circumpasses pretty much the actual corners, whereas on the small one I'm overhanging. I would say 8 out of 10 washes I'll use the large wash pad, but every so often, either whether I get to the lower areas or I just have a full wash with a small one, I will pick up the small one, and I always kind of think, Jesus Christ, why do I use a big one? Like, the small one's super nice. And of course I've got super big hands, like I've mentioned, so it's actually the maneuverability of the actual wash pad if you've got huge hands actually is sort of nice. So that's why I do it. Again, if you have got small dimensions in your hands, the small one's 100% for you. There's no right or way wrong kind of answer to this. I know 4'3" people who've got the large wash pad, and I've got people of my kind of size use a small wash pad. So honestly, it's down to personal preference. But what I would say is, with a very, I would use this word complicated, you know, with a complicated construction, you're not playing with just the one fiber. At this point, there's 3 separate independent fibers trying to work together. What I would recommend is these wash pads get better and better as you use them. Now, you see, I mentioned a lot of times for the wash pad, the break-in period. Now, they just need to be used is the simplest way of putting it without giving you all the science jargon and the garbage. Use them, so obviously wash the car, wash them in the washing machine, wash, rinse multiple times, and all of a sudden you'll start noticing that it's almost like a new engine on a car. The more mileage you do, 1,000, 3,000, 10,000, like the car hasn't changed, but it just feels more bedded in, it looks better, it sounds better, it feels better, and it's exactly the same thing with wash pad. These fibers need to be hit with the Yum Wash multiple times. They need to be hit with the Wash MF multiple times, and then all of a sudden the foam consistency becomes extremely, beautiful. The fibers are rinsing the water out quicker. They feel better on the paint. So just use them as often as you can. Obviously, you should be washing your car weekly, and the pads get better and better. So we are moving on. So again, imagine you've washed your car. As part of my collection, this is basically, I've got double this in the cupboards. So if I say 4, I've got 8. If I've got 3, I've got 6, right? So 2 drying towels. I'll roll with 4. So with how I dry kind of my cars, I've perfected the technique a lot better than most people. A lot of people haven't got the opportunity to have a well-protected car. That's 1. And 2, people haven't got the opportunity to actually use like a forced air system in the picture of blower to actually dry the cars. So for me, the drying towel, I'm not using this fantastic huge blend of microfiber to traditionally dry the car. You rinse the shampoo off, you've got lots of beads or no beads, or in my case I've got a ton of beads, and I chuck a towel over the top. I don't do that because my car is super highly protected. I don't want to use the firepower of this towel when I don't need to. So obviously I'll hit it quickly with a blower. And then still, if I do want to use the larger drying towel, so if I'm doing a topper kind of for whether it be wax sealing, coating, whatever it is, and I don't want to impede with the drying air towels, I'll move into that process in a second. If I just want to do an organic drying, no toppers, no nothing, because I'm putting a secondary product on in the next stage, I will use this. It's just easier. When you get to a level of where you've got hardly any water on your car and you use a towel that is almost too good for that paint, it becomes a beautiful kind of world for you. This towel is 5% dry by the time I'm finished with it, but this is probably, for me personally, I only use this where I'm either doing a heavy testing period on the car where, let's say I'm almost citrus washing the car neat, and the car's are obviously a lot flatter because of the product testing that I'm doing. I'll hit this. This is just an unbelievable towel. Again, the whole range is custom constructed, but with this specific towel, it's lighter, it's shaved, but it still retains its obviously famous blend of the twist loop. But the way we've made the weight of the towel and actual fiber consistency being shorter and denser, the way this towel dries in comparison to your traditional Far Eastern run-of-the-mill catalog towel is 2 different things. A lot of people like to say, well, I've got microfibers. I'm like, that is the most silliest thing I've ever heard. You've got microfibers and you've got microfibers. This is the latter. You've got the cheap, cheerful and tack. You've got the okay stuff somewhere in the middle. And then you've got extremely ultra premium towels, which in this case are custom blended. There's a huge difference. A lot of people say, I've got a wax removal towel. Now, I've seen wax removal towels that actually add more wax to the car than they remove. So because the packet says microfiber, or drying towel in this case, please don't be, allured into a certain marketing term or a gimmick or a video where I would recommend, honestly, try a premium microfiber versus your run-of-the-mill kind of blend, and you will see that there's a huge difference in whether it be absorbency or removal or whichever towel is kind of job that is designed to do. But moving back to the towels, I harp on about this enough, and hopefully I'm starting to get through to, the people who watch this kind of channel, is you shouldn't be doing protective or strip washes every 2, 4, 6, 8 weeks. You shouldn't be doing that because you're doing something wrong. So you should be doing 95% of your washes should be maintenance washes throughout the year. So if you're maintaining a finish that you have spent 50, 100, 200 hours on, to try and perfect it and protect it. This is where this towel was probably the newest innovation for us when we kind of released the version 3 range. Is the drying aid towel is specifically made for the maintenance drying step. There is no other step that it's designed for, so it's a very niche application. So as I said, you're blowing your car dry, you shouldn't have that much water left. But even if you've got, say, 50% off, you've got 50% left. Imagine the protection is on its way out, but you want to top it with, say, a drying aid. Rather than using this, you're going to pick up 2 of these amazing towels. They're just larger than your hand. That's how it's designed. It's designed to overlap your hand, to have no kind of skin contact on the paint. I love these because the first one, in my case, this is my official drying towel. So I'm picking up any remaining water. I've got a ton of drying aid within the fiber, so I'm drying / applying my drying aid. And then the secondary towel, by the time, you know, you flip your hands around. In my case, again, because we've got a self-leveling product, by the time I do this 4-second turnaround, the actual drying aid is actually starting to flash off the paint. So the secondary towel should not even be wet at the end of the whole process. You are literally just doing a maintenance and a courtesy wipe just to make sure, you know, a bead hasn't rolled somewhere or you've put too much product on. But if you do it all correctly, which is a spray panel, maybe 2, depending on the size, these towels are invaluable. Now, as you can see, I go through these towels like no tomorrow. I will probably use, again, depending on the car, depending on the size of the car, either 2 to maybe 4 towels kind of on a car. And then again, the wheel and drying towel, new addition to us. We were considering, like, do we do an all-purpose towel where you could do like a shorter pile, a slightly more aggressive, or do you do a dedicated towel that has got specific kind of properties? In this case, in the drying case, you need the absorbency properties over anything else. Or like you don't really need the removal properties on, say, a wheel and tire towel. So the wheel and tire towel is, again, another twist loop construction towel, same size as the drying aid towel. We use this, again, exclusively. So when you are doing your wheel drying steps, your door jams, boot jams, you know, all the basically, imagine the dirty areas traditionally, this is where this towel is coming into. I like to use the ceramic, so I change the drying aid to the ceramic spray sealant on the wheels. Now, whether your wheels are coated, mid-coated to where the coating is starting to fail, or you've got normal wheels that have got no protection on, what I would recommend is, again, you take 2 of these towels. My go-to step is 2 for the wheels and 2 for like the door jams, boot jams. You take the first towel, it's basically exactly the same kind of methodology regards the drying aid towels. First wheel and tire towel, you're going to load it up with ceramic. If you want to spread directly into the wheel, again, that's completely optional at that point. But I do mine into the towel. I will dry the wheels. Now, my wheels are coated, so the purpose of me doing that is I'm constantly adding a barrier on top of the ceramic to keep the ceramic not working. I don't want my ceramic coatings to work at all. And that's kind of the whole goal of doing toppers. I will do the first towel and I will dry the wheel. Again, the wheel is blown dry. I'm still got about 15 beads left. So I'm drying the wheel / applying the ceramic spray sealant. The secondary towel, again, courtesy wipe, you're just putting it in, you put your hands on the spokes and all this, and you dry it. That is literally it. And then the final 2 towels, I will rinse and repeat what I've just said. Door jams, front jams, back jams, all the jams that you could ever think of. Wheel and tire towels are like your workhorse. Now, I've got these around the house. I use them to clean the kitchen, clean certain floors in my house. I've got kind of hardwood floors. So amazing towels. They move the product in a certain way that an application towel can't do. But at the same time, they're constantly sucking up everything, whether it's cleaners, protecting. So for me, if you've got any dirty area, engine-based stuff like that, wheel and tire towel is going to be your best friend. And if you look after them correctly, which again, I harp on about this way too much, the microfiber range that you see, again, double, maybe 2.5 times more than this in my personal range. Some people have got triple, quadruple of what I have. Some people have less, but still, the argument still remains the same. When you start to invest this level of money into your personal microfiber, it's probably your second biggest investment within this world, probably minus a pressure washer, maybe a certain power tool, but you're in the top 2, maybe top 3 investment-wise into your towel. So when you start looking after buying these towels, I have a lot of people, there's 2 ways people like to acquire packages from me. They either come in and they'll get, I don't know, 2 entry-level packages, 2 ultimate packages, or every time they order, imagine they spend £50, they'll say, oh, I'll add one of these in £10. I'll add one of these in £6. So over, say, 12, 18 months, without dropping the package money immediately, they actually do it over time, more comfortably. They get to discover the range in a nicer way. They're like, oh, I've got a brand new towel. And again, that experience level is different to some people. But regardless of how you do it, if you buy even just this and you start washing it with really bad detergents that have got, you know, softness, conditioners, some detergents have got bleaches in, why would you do this? It's like picking up your pressure washer. You bought a brand new pressure washer package from us, you unpack it and you drop it. Like, you wouldn't do that. So please don't do that with the towels. Just never forget that the likes of Ariel, Fairy, all these kind of huge brands, when they sit around their R&D table, if they still do that, they don't think, how do we start removing things that aren't on the human body? So obviously human body, we've got like body oils, all that type of stuff. Whereas with this, we're talking ceramic sealants, coatings, non-ceramic sealants, you know, 50 different levels of wax, show wax, ceramic wax. Normal detergents, just use common sense on this. Normal detergents are not designed to be removing something that lasts 12 months on the car. There's just no way that's going to happen. So if you are into the 3-4 figures of microfiber investment, use a dedicated pure microfiber detergent, something like WashMF. It'll look after you. So again, we've washed the car. Again, the prep stage is pretty much to here. The prep stages will never change because you are preparing the car for the pretty bits, as I call them. So moving on to this stage, minus the interior towel, it can get quite interesting for you because you've got a whole plethora of towels that you can now pick and choose on which one to use. So 3 pane rated towels. Nick has gone mad. What's the point in 3 pane towels? I've got, again, 3 completely different brands. You can just visually see that they're 3 different towels. Now, my MO is I try and sell you a certain way of doing things. I believe the most tested way of doing things, because I have literally bought every single microfiber towel probably in existence, probably in packs of 10. And some work fantastically well, some don't work as well, some are just straight up for wiping your personal areas. So I've kind of, you know, I've had this little knowledge and I thought, right, there are different products on the market, of course, and there are some that are designed to be used as if you're a NASA kind of scientist. Some are designed to use if you're Stevie Wonder, and everything in between. So I believe each product that touches the paint almost has to have a segment of toweling blend that can either apply it, remove it, all that type of stuff. So in my lifestyle and how I like to do things, now the final wipe towel, I'm not a huge fan of thick towels because thick towels like to bunch up, especially if you're using a non-slick product, and it's just a mess. It's almost like a big rag that shouldn't be on the paint. So we were very conscious, and the development was very conscientious of, right, how do we make the thickest, non-thickest split weave microfiber towel that has got only one job to do. It's to either wipe in the safest way or apply like a very nice slick paint product, whether it's a maintenance or protective product. So again, the final wipe, you could do it in one of three ways. And I actually, everything I'm going to say to you now, these three products can be circled in any of those three kind of methods. So sometimes I'll wake up and I'll wash a car and I'll say, right, it's been dried. I want to top it with ceramic spray sealant or a development product that I'm using. And I will literally exclusively, I will use the final wipe towel to both apply, to remove, to do the final wipe. So it's three different processes with the same towel. Obviously, multiple towels, but the same blend of towel. And then again, it can be the same for the wax and sealant towel and for the paint towel. Now, where they all differ is if I know that I've got a hard product to work with, or if I'm testing something that I know is either going to be sticky, it's going to fail somewhere down the process, I'll probably avoid using this towel because split wheat microfiber is just so soft. Obviously, we've named these, I think, bang on. So the final wipe, if you were to open a dictionary to type in final wipe, you would try to imagine the softest, most absorbent, plush thing that exists. So obviously with this, so when you get something that likes to bunch towels up, you want to maybe avoid this and use something that is a little bit harsher, as if it's like a samurai sword going through a lemon. You want something that's a clean slice, there's no kind of dragging or anything like that. So this is where then the wax and sealants come in. So it's a dual blend towel. So we've combined two of the best towels for sticky removal, combine them together, and now you get the best of both worlds. Now, of course, the shorten up is the king. So when you are using the wax and sealant towel, so imagine, I actually love this for wax. You can kind of remove it with the shorter side. I love doing that. And then I just flip the towel, or in this case, I just pick up another towel that exclusively has the longer side, and I will almost do a final wipe with it. And it's just nice because you're getting the best of both worlds. Now, this is not split weave microfiber. This is a completely different kind of twist loop kind of construction of a towel, but it's not the same as, say, the drying towel / the drying aid towels. So it actually removes product very nicely. Don't forget, this may all look like microfiber to you, but I'm going to give you the best analogy in the world. If you were to take either the drying towel or the drying aid towel, and you remove, say, a wax, which is being cured on the paint, you're going to have the worst experience in the world. Or, respectively, if you upscale these towel, imagine if you had a meter by meter piece of fabric and final wipe, wax and seal, or the paint towel, and you try and dry the car, you will, again, respectively, have the worst experience that you can ever think. You're going to move water from point A to point B. They're both called microfiber, right? But it's different blends. So just be kind of conscious of where you're looking at it. But the good thing is the 3 paint rated towels are all safe on paint, right? In whichever product that you're using, in whichever heat, humidity, it doesn't really matter. These towels are kings. I would just use a little bit of common sense and look at the paint and what you're doing with it and think, right, have I got super soft paint, say Japanese, so like Honda, Nissan, anything like that, and you think every time you look at it, it's going to swirl. So again, I'd flip back to the final wipe towel and I will do this, and the weight is actually cushioned way too well, and that way you're wiping off, say, compound, polish, wax, whatever, same way as you would with a paint towel. But the paint towel, because it's so thin, it's not as spongy on your hand, so you're potentially, you know, putting more weight into the towel. Now, don't let me confuse you, but that's the way I think, okay? So final wipe's done, wax and sealants again done, and then of course you come to the ultimate workhorse of any paint that you can ever think of. This towel can be pretty much used on. Now, this can be used again with your gentlest, for example, our drying aid. You can't break that product. You can put the entire bottle on a bonnet, wipe it off with 2 towels. There's no streaks, hazing, anything like that. Or you could have the hardest, stickiest, most baked on, heavy cutting compound. This will just slice through it, hot knife through butter, samurai sword through a watermelon, whichever analogy you want to talk. Honestly, it's a king towel. Now, another use of this towel that I absolutely love, and if you've ever spoken to me, whether it be through emails, phone, shop, you'll know a lot of people say, Nick, how do you clean glass? Which towel would you use for glass? Now, these two towels are both rated for glass, short nap, highly kind of tight construction, a little bit more on the aggressive side. So that is just the Goldilocks combination for glass cleaning and removal of the glass cleaner. Now, my little hack to you is, so you never get confused, as you can see, we call this the paint towel. Paint is on the exterior of the car, and the interior towel, of course, is on the interior. So if you, for example, if you go and load up on 25 of these and you say, right, I'm going to be wiping off products, and at the same time, I'm going to hit both exterior and interior glass. Now, if you're having a bad day, if you're using say a bad detergent, or your wife says, hurry up, I need to wash whatever, and you put it in for, say, a 30-minute spin, which you shouldn't do, but imagine you do. And this is 6 months down the line from a brand new towel. Now, in this time, you have used spray sealants, detail sprays, spray waxes, wiping off polishes. Now, at this point, you haven't washed the towels properly over a consecutive amount of months. One day, you'll pick up a towel that looks identical to you, and you'll go to clean the glass in the same identical way that you always have. And just that one day, at the crossover point of a towel being dead, is you will look at it and go, something's wrong. I'm smearing, the glass cleaner is either being moved around too much or not enough. You're rejecting the actual removal stage almost. And people automatically think, right, it's the product, or it's heat, or whatever it may be. And, you know, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes, you know, you are using a bad glass cleaner, or sometimes it is too humid or too hot or too cold. But the majority of the time, it's user error from you with the towel. Now, if you do what I do, my paint towels are exclusively used on exterior glass if I'm cleaning glass. And my interior towels are exclusively used on interior glass, because you will never go into a cupboard array like this and pick up an interior cleaning towel to wipe off a wax or to wipe off glass plus. Now, if somebody comments below saying, yes, I do that, please don't. But, you know, normal human kind of common sense, you would never do that. So this is where you almost code the towels. So paint, because it's on the exterior, use it for the exterior glass. The interior towels, again, you're not going to be wiping off anything protective, because you're not going to be using dressings, of course. You're not going to be using anything kind of sticky and grimy like a chip shop on the inside of the car. So you're pretty much safe that your interior towels are going to be touching only cleaners and detergents. And while we're talking about the interior towel, I'm going to do this. Boom. I'm going to change the order. Now, these, honestly, I've got 4 piles of these in there. So actually, I lied when I said double. In some cases, it's more. I love my interior towels. I go through them way too much, even on my cars. I will literally, every seat gets a new towel. I'm so weird in that way in my head. So per my car, I could go through 10, 15 interior towels quite easily and without kind of blinking or being upset about it. Now, these are the workhorses of the interiors. You can use them on your pedals, obviously seats, carpets, dashboards, anything on the inside of your car. Now, I would, honestly, when you start building up your collection, or if you're considering packages, just look at the number of interior towels that are in either option and kind of consider it heavily. Now, the interior towels are great. As I said, they're awesome on glass. They're awesome on your gloss black, piano black kind of surfaces. They are soft, but they're not soft, and they're harsh, but they're not harsh. So you can get the worst jobs done, and you can get the most beautiful jobs done, all out of the same towel. So it's literally, it's absorbent, it's rejective, it can move a product, it can remove a product. It's kind of an all-in-one towel that I really like. And again, I have these scattered all over the place. I've got some in my office for the computer screens. I've got some in the kitchen. Now in the kitchen, they're great. You combine this with citrus. Ooh, nice. They are a towel that I probably have the most of. As I said, I've got around 4 piles of these about this high, and they get used literally everywhere. But for glass specifically, the interior Spec towel, which is this. Yeah, they're really nice. They're just a perfect shape. You can half it, you can quarter it, you can eighth it. Jesus, if you're doing even something super tight, you can even do this if you're wiping a little computer screen or something. So they're very malleable. They're very well washable as well. And as I said, all these towels have been what now? Since I dropped it, 2 years, ever since the new line, and they're looking better than new. Yeah, it's all about maintenance. There's no staining on either one of them. Even my really technically the worst towel in my range for dirt kind of wise would be the wheel and tire towel, and there isn't a spot on them yet. In fact, interior should be quite bad too, but they're fine. And then the final gem that I have, a few of these are actually in the wash or about to be washed, so I can only show you 3, but I've got about 6 or 9. So these, again, these come out for me personally very rarely. These are the, as you can see, look how grabby they are. These are the exfoliator pads, mitts, wash pad mitt that we have. Now these are a very interesting one. If I was a normal person, say I worked 5 days a week, had to do 30 mile there, 30 mile back, and in between with family and kids and dogs and, you know, the usual stuff that normally gets found in cars, I would use these weekly. Okay, now because I wash my car twice a week, I mean even minimum, I wash my car once a week. The bare minimum, unless it's snowing for 2 weeks straight, of course. So I do both the inside and the outside. I don't really do that much mileage in one singular car. So I won't like put on 5,000 miles on the 911, 5,000 miles on another car. Like I will literally, I live so close to work. I live probably a couple miles from work. So I'm probably doing 20, 30 mile a week in a car. And then I'll wash it, move into the next car, and I just keep circling our fleet of cars. So again, the same with, say, polishing paint or scrubbing something too much. Just use your common sense. You're always trying to use the least aggressive. Now, these, I can tell who the type of people I've just described. These are extremely popular with them because these are absolutely flying out the door. And again, like I said, if you're doing anywhere between 250 to 500 miles plus per week, and you've got everything, you're getting out lots of times, petrol stations and work stuff, then these I would use weekly. So you would agitate your leather, plastic, your steering wheels, pedals, all that type of stuff with this, and you would kind of dry it off and pick it up with the interior towel. Whereas what I do, I actually flip the kind of the process around, and I will use this 3 of the 4 washes. So imagine if it's weekly, I will do week 1, 2, and 3, interior towel wipe down, and then a monthly kind of decon. I like to do it that way. Now at that point, I will do the mileage that I've just stated across all the cars. And again, some stuff, again, has to stick at some point. So I will whip out my trusty exfoliator, which these are just absolutely amazing, right? And I will just quickly go around with the interior cleaner and do kind of like a regeneration of the leather, the plastics, whatever it may be. Wipe it off with the interior towels, and I'll be back to square one. And then week 1, 2, and 3, I'll go back to the maintenance, and then I do this. So again, I just use my common sense. Some people do 2 week on, 2 week off. Some people do it all the time because they're just really grubby and need cheeseburgers in the car. I can't answer the question for everybody because I haven't got eyes on everybody's kind of different lifestyle. But usually you can either split the car care population in thirds or maybe quarters, you know, from the really super discerning individual up top right down to the bottom to somebody who washes the car once every 6 weeks. He just wants it clean but not that bothered, and everywhere in between. So about thirds and quarters of the population, I'm about hopefully right. And that so far is my personal-ish collection. We are working on a few more niche kind of offerings that can potentially split even more a certain task or reduce a certain task. So if we see, would you rather have 2 towels for X or would you have 1 towel for X, but combine the blends, we of course go for the latter, and that's obviously why the the WashPad V2 was born, because we believe that there was a lack, well, in fact, not a lack, it didn't exist, but there was a lack in that kind of field of kind of how can you hit 3 areas of car washing, fiber manipulation in one. And we're now starting to make our way through the lines. And if there is a double strength, for example, split weave microfiber available, we'll chase it. If there's a double, triple strength of twist loop or a new technology, a tri-twist loop, these things eventually, as we get older, these things begin to advance. New things become available. R&D, we are heavily vested right now. We've got all of our products in 2 5Ls of each, basically, over in our factory, and then going through some serious testing. So cool. I wish I could show you the videos, but they're literally applying 200 mil of wax on a car, leaving it for 3 days unwiped, and then they'll say, right, let's try blend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're just going through all that heavy testing to put into kind of imagination our version 4 line, or an upgrade to the version 3 line. So I hope you found this kind of interesting. I spoke about my process a lot more than I envisaged to, because I said, I'm going to speak about the towels, this is my current collection, do a quick kind of rundown, and I ended up kind of diving a bit deep into the process. But I hope some of you have found this kind of valuable, interesting. Again, I always look for your feedback in the comments. Please let me know in the comments what you thought about the video. How are you finding the towels? Are you enjoying them? What's your favorite towel, if you've got one? If that question is kind of right towards you, again, I'd love to speak to you through the comments. And yeah, I will hopefully see you on the next video with some more crazy ideas of mine through the screen. So thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one.